Well, on this 26th day of June, which is the International Day for the UN Charter, I would once again want to congratulate the international community for 75 years of successful cooperation. The UN Charter is basically the constitution of the United Nations, the aspiration of humanity after suffering, the terrible effects of the Second World War. The United Nations was founded, and on this day when we celebrate the UN Charter, the most important thing is what have we ourselves done to contribute to the UN Charter? So as a former Executive Director of UN Habitat and the retired Under Secretary General of the United Nations, I am glad to say that I have contributed towards the implementation of the UN Charter. And my contribution, of course, I was given the opportunity to serve by former Secretary General Kofi Annan, the late Secretary General Kofi Annan. And one of the problems I would like to highlight was the importance of human settlements, that we must take care of the living environment. The living environment is our homes, our cities, our towns, our villages. As the Executive Director of UN Habitat, I was able to sensitize the world that all is not well with our settlements, that people are moving into cities, that Homo sapien has become Homo urbanus. We are now creatures of the city, but the city was not a friendly place. The city, particularly in the developing world, was not well planned. The city didn't have space for everybody. The city was almost exclusive for the privileged few. So the right to the city became the basis, became the theme under which I based my contribution and my development of the UN Agency for Housing and Urban Development, which is UN Habitat. And we accomplished a lot, because today, in the context of the development of the environment, the living environment, the city is now part of the Sustainable Development Goals. It was not exactly fitting very well into the Millennium Development Goals. So I consider this as one of my biggest contributions to international development and the implementation of the UN Charter, which emphasized peace and prosperity. Yeah, the second question on which you wanted me to comment upon was, of course, the whole idea of the youth. What are we doing for the youth? In Africa, I'm now speaking from Tanzania, actually on the grounds of the Tanzanian parliament, where we have just completed our session and we are going to general elections. The youth of Tanzania, they make up 70% of our population. They are all below 35 years. So you can imagine international development, global cooperation has to focus on the youth, both men and women. We cannot only focus on the girl child and forget the boy child, because also the boys are facing serious problems. In sub-Saharan Africa, we have serious problems of unemployment. And now this situation has been aggravated, of course, by the global pandemic of COVID-19. So I would like to say that whatever we do now must really focus on the youth, the integration of the youth, the mainstreaming of youth activities into economic, political undertakings. And here in Tanzania, for example, our president has been focusing on education, access to education. The youth must be empowered. If you don't give education to the youth, skills development, then you don't empower them to take their rightful place and develop their talents. So I would like to say that the question of the youth is very important. And finally, on this day, I would like also to say my encouragement and advice to the youth is, first of all, to learn a peaceful coexistence with their friends, to get the skills they need, but also to work hard. Because also there is a number of youth who think that they can succeed without effort, without struggle. That is not possible. So the UN Charter, which is about peace and prosperity, is particularly focusing on the future of mankind. So my advice is that if you are a young person, you work hard, you strive, everything is possible. You can also look at what your mothers, as a woman, I can also tell the youth that do this peacefully. Look at what the women movement has achieved without violence, without really hitting anybody, without fighting with anybody. Women have been able to reach where we have reached. A woman like me, born in the countryside of Tanzania, born to peasant farmers, was able to become an elected Under Secretary General of the United Nations, for example. So I would like to say that on this day of the UN Charter, let me extend my congratulations to the entire global community, to the Secretary General of the United Nations, but also all the people who are working for global peace and prosperity. So on that note, I send you greetings from Tanzania, speaking from the Tanzanian Parliament. Thank you.